It's about 7:30, it's getting really late and the sun's going down, so I'm going to do the next part of this guttering project right now before the sun goes down. I've rushed home for this. So on the areas that previously I tried to glue it together, it's actually dried now. Probably should have wiped it off yesterday. But I'm just going to take my little scraper, just scrape off the excess. I was very intentionally doing this very carefully because, as you can see, to get the material off successfully, I had to angle it towards myself a little bit, which is a little bit risky because if it slips, you're going to end up hurting yourself. These other ones seem to have glued together nicely actually, so perhaps I just didn't leave it enough time to do this last one. Maybe it is the right material after all. She's going to regret saying that in about 10 minutes. I'm going to use something different for these last two. This is a super strength glue. I'm going to use this to do the last couple of joins. She seems so confident about that. I wonder if, when she takes the lid off, she'll realise that the product inside of the nozzle is completely dried out. Hold up, before I do that, I need to add that piece in here that I mentioned on my video yesterday. I need to add a little bit more pipe so that it's aligned correctly on the front of the house. How do I get this apart? As you would have seen in yesterday's video, I used the in between the feet method, which worked very well for me. Today I'm using the in between the knees method, which was also equally as successful. Still wet. Still wet from 2 days ago. I take it back, this is the wrong material. I told you she would regret saying that. Just wiping off all of the wet compound with a bit of tissue. What a disaster, eh? Real life renovation. Sun's really going down. Here I sawed about 10 centimetres off of the main pipe, so I could use this at the front instead. Oh no! What's going on, Emma? Is the nozzle blocked? Is the product dry? I thought you were going to say that. Yep, but you've always got a plan, so it's fine. What is it that you're actually doing there, though? Are you just putting giant blobs on it? Did you take the nozzle off? Well, I guess if it works. I really ought to stop talking about myself in the third person, but I feel like I've really committed now. This blobs method didn't actually end up being a bad idea. I needed a fair bit of product to make it stick, so that's a win. It was only after I'd glued the pipe into the top bit that I remembered I need something to keep this standing up. It's not going to stay in that pipe by itself. So I retrieved the piece of wood that I still luckily had lying on the floor and then glued the other piece on. Now was the fun task of working out where to put this second clip. I've got pasta cooking, so I'll be 1 sec. Here I'm just marking out where I want the clip to go. Now, I don't want to give you any spoilers, but I was feeling pretty confident at this point that I was putting these in a really good place. Does that clip look straight to you? Looks fairly straight to me. Well, now that I'm looking at it, it does actually look a little bit wonky. The other place that I considered positioning this clip was around the side near where the water barrel is. But if you look carefully, you can see it's not the right shape anymore for it to fit against the wall. Ideally, the pipe would be flat against the wall. Now, I don't mean touching the wall, I just mean in parallel with the wall so that I can apply a clip. So because of that, I know that this is definitely not the most ideal way to do this. Maybe instead of a straight piece of pipe between the angled one on the left and the 90-degree one on the right, I'd added another angled pipe that straightened it back up again. I also couldn't quite work out a better way to do these holes because I needed to be able to put the pipe in position so that I know where the clip goes. But then the pipes are in the way. Perhaps it would have made sense for me to allow the glue to dry first so that I could add the clips more successfully. These plugs and screws I have taken from a different project where I didn't need to use these. The plugs just popped straight in, I didn't even need a hammer, which I always find super satisfying when they just fit. Now, these wouldn't ideally be the screws that I would use for this, because the clip is white and these black screws resting against it are going to look a little bit odd. But really, I'm just trying to do the best with the materials that I have to hand. And in this clip, you can slowly watch the pipe drift down the wall as the glue is moving in between the two pipes. Once I'd secured the top clip in place, I went to secure the bottom clip and I realised that the plug was nowhere near where I was expecting it to be. You actually won't be able to see the plug because it's hiding behind the pipe, but this position the clip is in right now, that's where it is. If I move it so the clip is straight, the plug is in the wrong place. I'm usually pretty good at working out where the screws need to go, so this was really frustrating. I considered removing the plug, drilling a new hole and straightening it up. Here I'm just trying to wiggle the plug back out of the wall. But because it's getting quite dark and I actually just want to have this finished so that the water is going directly into the water butt, I decided to relent and make it wonky. I don't want you to underestimate how much it hurts my feelings for this to be wonky. This is going to give me nightmares. Literally going to sit up straight in bed at night because of the night terrors, thinking about how wonky this is. Yes, I agree. So then I just glued the rest of it together. Now this is not fully secure because it's only held together by glue, and I would prefer that it was held together with some sort of clip against the wall. I don't yet know how I'm going to do this, but look how different it is to what it looked like at the beginning. It is, at the very least, going to do the job. Is it perfect? No, it is absolutely not perfect, but it is going to do the job. It doesn't matter if the outlet is central because the water will drip down the sides of the plastic. But for my own sense of sanity, I moved it into the middle. I already have to leave this knowing that that clip isn't straight, and there's only so much my mental health can take. So what do you think? How would you have done this project differently? Let me know in the comments. I spent the majority of today working in a co-working space with a whole bunch of entrepreneurs for part of this accelerator program. I'm not actually on it myself, I was just a guest for a talk that was happening, but I stayed for the rest of the day and I was working in this office surrounded by people doing stuff that's really similar to me, and it felt amazing because when you're doing a job like this where you're working solo at home quite a lot, it can get a little bit much. So I really enjoyed that today, and I spent that time planning what I'm going to do for my next few projects. I want to redecorate my office. I have set up a colour scheme. I will add to this video the sort of mood board that I have, the idea about what I'd like it to look like, and I was going to start on that next, but have instead decided that I'm going to work on redecorating my bedroom. The reason is, as you all know, I've been redoing the shelves and I'd really like to get them finished. Let's do this upstairs. If you've watched any of my recent content, you'll know that I had to box in this wood burner flue into this slightly odd looking rectangle here. I'm building these shelves next to it so that it doesn't look so odd. I want to redecorate this room in a way that really brings all of this together. I need to buy some more MDF to add on the bottom of these shelves. I also need to add some coving or some trim. I'll probably add some coving around the top to just make it a bit more cohesive. I also want to change the colour in here. I'm thinking like an olive green, something really jungly, something really lovely to wake up to. And I think I'd like to paint the ceiling and the wall and just have it all mixing in. I haven't actually decided what I want to do about this space yet because I have separated this off as a sort of reading nook, like a little library, and I do like that, but I'm not sure
if I want to keep it yet, or if I might like to do something else with it. In fact, the green that I'm looking at is quite similar to that. Like a really rich, dark, something to blend in with my plant. I was actually trying to come to a decision about whether or not I should create, add some 2x4s to this space and create a little platform so that the washing basket is raised up. It makes this area look a little bit more intentional rather than a gap down the side. I certainly look forward to getting rid of these oddly painted walls. I actually patched up some of these areas. You can actually see them on camera, I think. Let me zoom in. That's no better. The colour is the same, but it is slightly different. It could partly be due to the fact that I've stored the paint in jars. They've been in there for quite a long time. I did paint this room 2019, end of 2019, so it's been like this for a long time. So the leftover paint that I had for touch-ups had a lot of time to go skew with. It doesn't necessarily like being in jars that are see-through either, because obviously the sunlight has an opportunity to affect the colour. I don't know science, but I'm sure that's true. I will also show you my mood board for this room.
And if you've enjoyed this episode and you want to see these DIY projects being done in real time, don't forget to subscribe.